What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to TBM. Let's get into the college football slate. We're going to break down each and every game going on in this entire slate. This is one we're going to have a lot of plays. There are 6 games, including 7 if you count the night game, which I'll have a separate dedicated video where we go over the Georgia-Texas, the exciting primetime matchup that everybody's going to be keyed in on. This is going to be maybe in some way a precursor to the national championship game. This is one that I'm going to be very much tuned into as well. I do have a play in that game, which I'll be breaking down. I'll tell you guys the pick, but in a different video, we will go over the entire game. We'll break down the exciting matchup that we have coming to you guys live in primetime. All right, so with that being said, I do want to tell you guys that I will give you guys 6 best bets and then get you on your way. If you haven't done so, please join us here on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe. Absolutely smash that like button. And you're going to have to forgive me. I'm outside smoking some food right now, so I do have my hoodie on. It's not one where this is for presentation purposes. Don't really care. We will have the jersey on a little bit later on. Go Irish within Notre Dame, and that is something where we will talk about that game a little bit. I don't have an official play in that. We're a little bit late to the party, which we had some injury concerns with that game. But let's get into it. Let's talk some football. And if you guys haven't done so, please hop on over to the Discord. There is a link down below for that as well. I am going to show you guys kind of what we have going on here on the channel just very, very shortly, okay? And let's get into that before we dive into Outlier. Okay, this is the homepage here on YouTube. If you want to click this button right here or down below in the description, become a channel member today. Okay, this is something where we don't charge for picks here, but if you want to give back and support the channel, become a channel member today. That is the best way you can do so. Also, I do want to share with you guys that I do have a Twitter. All right, for some of you that do not know, there's a link down below for that. Join us on X. The handle is in the bottom left of your screen. There is a link down below in the description. Give me a follow on there at the Bettor Mark, okay? And let's get into the picks. All right, so we are going to dive into this college football slate. And this is where we're going to talk about that first game, Wisconsin and Northwestern at noon. This is an exciting matchup. A lot of these games I do like are in the Big Ten, which is something that, quite frankly, doesn't happen a lot. But a lot of these Big Ten matchups have been very, very profitable for me, including last night. I did have a little bit of sprinkle on the Oregon Ducks. I took them live as well, so that was a profitable little Friday night action outside of the the over we hit within the Guardians and the Yankees. So this is one where we're going to talk college football, though, in this video. And if you do want to get on a side for Wisconsin Northwestern, I do lend towards Wisconsin. However, 8.5 has gotten a little bit out of hand, so I'm not going to play it at that high number, but that would be a lean towards Wisconsin minus 8.5 in this game. Okay, the big game here is Dylan Raiola and the Cornhuskers going against IU within Cincinnati. And the big storyline here with Cincinnati, and this is something we're going to talk about, is the fact that we look at the Hoosiers, 5-1 ATS, 5-0 in their last 5 games. I do have a play on Indiana a little bit earlier in the week. I was able to take them minus 4, but we're seeing a huge discrepancy within the betting split. 60% of the money on the Cornhuskers. Okay, so maybe a little bit of fade the public money. But this is a big, big line movement. This number opened up at 3.5, now at 6.5 in the market. For me, and what we're seeing with Northwestern, they're both coming off of a bye. This is going to be a very similar style of football that we're seeing, but I do trust Kirk Cincinnati. I like them at minus 4. That's the number that I did take. 6.5, I'm not willing to lay it, so I did want to put that out as one of my plays, just because some of you guys like to tease college football, and if you do want to take the likes of IU, take them down to a pick 'em. That is something where I look for Nebraska's defense going to be the storyline here. How IU plays coming off of a bye, but I do like the Hoosiers to win this game straight up. Okay, so you talk about it a little bit more and kind of who they've played leading up till today. IU played Northwestern, Maryland, Charlotte, UCLA, and it's something where that doesn't really lend towards the argument that hey, where is that strength of schedule? Where is those quality wins? Where are those data points that actually make sense? And I think that's why we see a lot of sharp movement on Nebraska in this spot, because Nebraska, we look at kind of their matchups and who they've been battle tested against. It's been Colorado, it's been Illinois, which Illinois seems to be a very good loss looking at a top 25 team. And they took care of business against Purdue, one of the worst teams in college football, winning 28-10, and then a very good defensive performance against Rutgers, winning 14-7. This one might be a little bit lower scoring. 49.5 is the total, for my opinion. This is something where we do get a good performance from IU, looking to stay undefeated in conference, going to 7-0 and 4-0 in the Big Ten. So give me the Hoosiers in a teaser, but I did take them at -4, so we'll see where that all shakes out. Next game I want to talk about is the Cincinnati Bearcats in Arizona. We talk about this game a little bit, and if you guys watch Arizona State, they have an outstanding running back. It's going to give a lot of fits to the Cincinnati Bearcats. Arizona State 5-1 on the season. So another story where you look at the strength of the schedule. How much does that actually play a role? But 31% of the money on the Sun Devils here in this spot. Look at them plus 5.5. We've seen this number move a little bit. So if you can get Arizona State, kind of tease them up, that's another great teaser partner for me. But for me, guys, this is a no play for me at 5.5. If you do want to take Arizona State on a money line, plus 180, not opposed to that as well. This would be a lean, not an official play. I just like what Arizona State's doing offensively, and they do play some timely defense, and this is one where I think it does get kept close for the majority of the game, where we do get the Sun Devils with a chance to even win this game outright. All right. Then we can talk about kind of what we have going on. Clemson, I'm going to touch upon that game against Virginia. -20.5, they're laying at home. Clemson has been one of the best offensive teams that we've seen, and this is something where it's been kind of contrary to the narrative around Dabo Swinney and his kind of stubbornness when it comes to playing football and how they call plays. And I do want to take time, because I had this conversation with somebody last night about Clemson, and they are ranked 10th, 5-1 on the season, with that only loss being to Georgia. And how much of Clemson's success that we're seeing actually is getting overshadowed by the likes of that loss in week 1 against Georgia. I think it's more so just kind of a buy low opportunity at Clemson, even at these levels. I do like Clemson, lean towards that -20.5. Also, Clemson in the first half, I think, is a very juicy play for me as well. So lean Clemson to lay the points at home here in this spot against the Cavaliers. Now, another game that we are going to talk about, and this is Miami and Louisville. We talk about this game with Cam Ward and what they're able to do. This is a big game at noon kickoff, okay? Cam Ward, We talk about that game day matchup against the Cal Bears, and that game ended up being 39-38 when he had that comeback, okay? Now, the storyline here is Louisville is not that bad, okay? Louisville is a former top 15 team. We look at that loss. They had the Notre Dame. A little stock up on Notre Dame as well, okay? But that game, 31-24 in South Bend. I do look for this game to be a little bit closer to the vest. It's going to be a great contest, in my opinion. A little sharper play, I think, on Louisville, plus 5.5. But for me, in my money, this is a play for the over, okay? We think that Louisville is going to be able to move the football with efficiency. Also, I do look for the fact that we talk about this in the offense behind Miami. They don't really have that defense. And I think that Jeff Brom calling plays for Louisville is going to lend towards this over as well. So right now you can find that best number available, 59.5. That is going to be my best play. We're seeing this total drop kind of like a rock here, but I still like Miami-Louisville over 59.5. I think we get 60 points, and I think this is one of my best bets of the day, where we do take the Hurricanes on the road at Louisville. Okay. Next game we're going to get into is going to be one where it's going to be a great matchup, another one in the Big Ten, Michigan and the Illini for Illinois, okay? So it's a ranked-on-ranked game, top 25 matchup, 24-22. A lot of steam on Michigan. Now, this is a spot where I am buying a half point. I did take Michigan -3. Right now, that best number available is 4.5. At 4.5, it's not a play for me. That's too much delay, but I think that when we talk about this game a little bit, we have to get into the storyline that, yes, Illinois can score, but no, this is something where they aren't going to be able to score as easily against the Wolverines. And the big data point here that I'm going to hone in on and why I like Michigan is the fact that Illinois, in just 1 week ago, They gave up 49 points to the Boilermakers, okay? And if you've watched Purdue play offense, you've watched them play football, that is a horrible kind of recency. When we talk about the recent form leading up until this game, maybe it's a little look-ahead spot. Maybe it's a little bit of taking the foot off the gas pedal for Illinois, but hosting Michigan, it's going to be a tough task. More of a business trip mentality for the Wolverines, and I do like them here in the spot to win by a touchdown or more. To be quite honest with you, I think that this is one where the number's wrong. I think that Illinois, for my money, it is a little bit overrated, and I do think that the Wolverines get this one done. I will take them up to 6. I think that Michigan minus 4.5 still a play. I was able to take them at minus 3 a little bit earlier in the week, so it's kind of a different bet now at 4.5. But I still like the Wolverines to cover this number, just due to the fact that I think Illinois is a little bit overrated. Okay, Michigan. One thing you have to understand though about them, the only thing that does make me nervous is their ranking against the pass. They do rank in the bottom, basically 15 in the country in giving up yards against the pass, and that's what Illinois looks to have success upon. So if it makes sense to you guys, Illinois with the points is seemingly a sharper play, but we are seeing the majority of the handle on the Wolverines to cover this number. Okay, so that's where I'm going to be at as a best bet, Michigan minus 3, but that number is not available anymore, so it's kind of the worst of it. So if you do want to lay the 4.5, go for it, but like I said, I think it's a game where Michigan wins by 7 or more. Okay. Notre Dame and Georgia Tech. Okay, that's a game I'm going to talk about just because I'm a Notre Dame fan, and a lot of you guys are probably too. But this is something where we do look for Georgia Tech here without their quarterback. This was a recent kind of development where we will see him absent from the fold. Okay, now the backup comes in, only has 2 starts on the season, and this is something where I do think that this is a little bit of a blowout potential game for Notre Dame. Minus 13.5 is out there right now in the market. And I think that this is something where you do look at Notre Dame's offense. They have been rolling. Riley Leonard had 0 pass touchdowns through, I think, the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. And I think he has like over 4 in just the last 2. So this is something where I do look for Riley Leonard to have a very strong game. Minus 13.5 would be my lean for Notre Dame on the road. Also, this is going to be played at a dome. There's going to be a lot of Notre Dame fans. It's going to be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and I think this is one where the Irish roll minus 13.5 as we look for kind of a home game for Notre Dame, too, if you want to put it into their fan base's hands, traveling well for Notre Dame in this spot. So that's where I'm going to be at for that 3:30 kickoff. All right. Next, let's go down to the SEC, talk about the Crimson Tide, Tennessee Volunteers matchup we have. And this is one where this is a stronger play for me as well. I lend towards the 57.5. That is where my money is going to be best spent. You look at Alabama and what they're able to do defensively. This is one where I don't trust them. And I think Tennessee, with what they're able to do with Nico Imaleva, I just really think that this is where the defense for Alabama is not the Nick Saban-led crew that is showing a lot of vulnerabilities. And what Tennessee does on offense, I think this is where they're going to get a lot of success. You look at kind of the point totals for Alabama throughout the season. Every single game, pretty much giving up 40 points. So I do think that if Alabama gives up 40 points, this number is going to sail over the total. So my best bet is the Alabama Crimson Tide Tennessee game, 57 over. I think this is something where you might get a little sharper money on the under, but I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to trust it. I'm going to trust my numbers, and I do think that we get a strong offensive showing from Jalen Milroe, as well as a poor defensive showing from Kalen DeBoer's defense, and we get the Tennessee-Alabama game going over the total. So give me the over 57 in this spot, okay? Next, let's go down the list. Let's get into the game headed out. This is actually a good game at 4 o'clock. James Madison, Georgia Southern. No play for me, but this is one where I would go over 58.5 if I had to bet it. Okay. But next, the next game that we're going to talk about with an official play is going to be Iowa and Michigan State, okay? This is a very strong play for me. I do like Iowa minus 6. That's the number that I was able to take. And if we want to talk about the Iowa Hawkeyes, yes, their defense is their talking point. But what they've been able to do this year with Cade McNamara under helm is score points, okay? Iowa has been a very good bet for me. I've taken a lot of second half money lines, second half spreads with an Iowa. They really do seem to pull away late in the game. And this is something where Michigan State, is not going to get anything done offensively with what Aiden Childs does to that offense. It's nothing that NLI money deserves, okay? And you couple that with Iowa's defense and the ability that they're going to be able to have the forced turnovers and then capitalize it off it with an offensive showing against that Michigan State defense, which is about paper thin. So I took Iowa -6, one of my favorite bets of the day. I think that this is one where we do go over the total 39.5. Iowa has the chance and opportunity, I think, in my opinion, to cover that 39.5 by themselves. If you really wanted to ask me, I think the number's wrong with the total. So if you want to know my second best bet for this game, it would be Iowa -6 over 39.5. I think we get 40 points in this game very, very easily. Okay, so that's where I'm at within that game. And then we do want to talk a little bit more about that primetime matchup with Georgia and Texas. I'll save that one for last, and I will have a full dedicated video where we go over that game in its entirety. But the next game that I do have, and it's probably one of my stronger plays of the day, that's going to be the Kentucky-Florida Gators game where Kentucky goes on the road. Mark Stoops and company, -122 on the money line. That's what I'll be taking, Kentucky on the money line. I think this is a very, very good spot for Kentucky with what they're able to do in terms of running the football, okay? I don't think that we get Kentucky's defense to kind of show weakness here. I think this is where Florida, in terms of their run defense, that's the storyline, okay? I think Kentucky, both of these quarterbacks like to run the football, but I do think that Kentucky and their running offense is really going to be the biggest threat here. I think this number is bad. I think on a neutral field, Kentucky is well close to a 6-point favorite if we really want to get it going. The only question here is, do we get a good defensive showing? Will that 42.5 show out, or will we get a blowout? But for me and my money, I think Kentucky keeps this one closer to the vest, and I think that them winning on the road, just getting the job done, -122 on the money line against this leaky Florida Gators run defense is kind of a very much a layup play here in college football. So that will be one of my best bets that I'm going to be taking today. Excuse me. Okay, and then down the odds board, nothing really in the later games that I'm looking forward to without getting into next week. So we are going to talk about that game between the likes of Georgia and Texas a little bit. Okay, and this is something where a lot of the odds makers, okay, are really having trouble with this one because this is the first time, and I'm sure you guys have heard this time and time again, this is the first time in almost like 50 games or so that we have seen the likes of Georgia getting points, okay? Now, here we are right here, guys. Georgia is coming into this game getting 5.5 points. So you can get Georgia north of 10 points if you want to tease them up. I'm a little bit stock up on Georgia. I think this is where Georgia on the money line makes sense as well. Plus 167, plus 175 now actually is the number you can find. This is one where it's very tempting to take Georgia on the money line. It's worth a little sprinkle in my opinion, but there's a reason why they set the number like this. We talk about Texas, what they were able to do against Oklahoma last week. Oklahoma cannot score. We saw that against Tennessee. So their integration into the SEC has been the number one storyline as we look at the number one team in the country hosting the Georgia Bulldogs here in conference. I just really, truly don't think that Texas has played anybody, okay? So it's kind of a sell high spot for Texas. Winning 31-12 in a blowout against Michigan, it's more so like 31-5, or I'm sorry, 31-6, if you really want to talk about what that number actually is. But for me and my money, it's going to be spent on Georgia. If you don't take Georgia here, fine, but it's just a very rare occurrence that we're going to find Georgia giving up this many points. But my best bet in this game, laying that many points. But my best bet in this game is going to be taking the over. I still believe in Texas's offense, and for all accounts, if we saw what Georgia and Alabama game led to, I do think we get a similar type of an outcome. I took the over 54.5 when this number just came out, but now I would take this up to 57 if I was going to play it at its current state and value. Right now, the number in the market is 57.5, where we've seen this kind of fly over, and I don't really trust the number here with Georgia, okay? This is where you see Texas convert a lot on offense when you want to talk about third down efficiency. And conversely, on defense, they've done the opposite, but I don't think they've played anybody. So I think this is kind of a strength of schedule play for me. It's a value play for me. I think that Georgia getting to an insane number, we were diving in on it at Georgia +4, and now at 5.5, it seems to be one of my favorite plays of the day. Also, I'm going to play the over in this spot. This is where, you look back at SEC in kind of its entirety and its stereotype. You look at this on paper and you go, okay, great defense in Texas with who they've played. In Georgia defense coming in this game, there's no way this game could hit 60. But you look at some of the recent games, Georgia, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Alabama, even going against Vanderbilt. I mean, just even the weakest of offenses are putting up points in the SEC. And this is something where if I was going to bet this game for my money, Georgia money line and the over 54.5 what I took, but up to 57 is my best bet in the Georgia-Alabama matchup that we have. So those are my best bets. Appreciate you guys watching. This is one where we're going to have an exciting slate leading up till this primetime game. If you haven't done so, guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. Also, please check out the channel members. Thank you to all my recent channel member signups. Really don't know how much I appreciate that, and it means to me here on this platform. Also, make sure you give me a follow on X. The handle is in the bottom left, and we'll see you guys over on the Discord a little bit later on in the day. Have a great rest of your day. Good luck with your picks. Cheers.